Let's get more with Angelina Kwan. She's CEO and founder of the consulting firm Stratford Finance. And Angelina, I'm curious for your views. This anticipation that we see President Trump coming back in, spelling out some clarity for the sector in the US in particular, how much of a positive and how much is that needed for the asset class?
I think it's very, very positive for the asset class, and it's vindication as well as a proper approval that digital assets are a asset class for the future and present. And I think it's going to be very, very exciting. The fact that the expectations that now Bitcoin has hit 81,000 is very, very positive. The thing that's really necessary, though, for the United States to be a leader in digital assets is to have a very, very clear regime. And now with the expected appointment of Hoskinson, who is the Cardano founder, as this head of the input-output group that will be commenting and giving advice to Trump and his party, I think it's going to at least start moving. The interesting part will be how will the different bodies within the government from the SEC, is it going to be the SEC who will be the lead regulator, or will it be the CFTC that's going to be the lead regulator? And then how will these rules work out? And I don't think anybody should expect that it's going to come just like that. It's going to take a while because legislation takes a while. But the fact that there is a plan that is in place, once one is put into place, will be good for digital assets around the world. I was just at a meeting recently working with many of the regulators, and it's very difficult because the United States, one of the biggest countries, and many of their digital asset firms are leaders in the field. It's very difficult for them to get licenses around the world because the regulation is so unclear in the United States. And I think that clarity will really help IOSCO and the other regulators around the world to work with the U.S. Does that help?
Angelina, David here. Oh, no, yeah, absolutely,
David.
It helped. In fact, I was just going to build on that and just ask you, these things are going to take time, right? The fact that we're talking about it in a formal manner, I think, certainly helped. What would be the specific goalposts you'd be keeping an eye on? What do you think can happen over the next 12 months, you know, along the sort of progress, this path of progress here?
I think, number one, for the United States, they're going to have to decide who will be the lead regulator, CFTC or SEC. Then they need to decide how they want to regulate, and that's going to take a long time for consultation. Even if you look in Hong Kong, we took roughly about a year to get everything together in terms of our licensing measures, and they're very clear now. But just getting the legislation passed, and that's moving very quickly, in fact, does take time. And the United States, you're going to have voting within houses and different bodies within the United States. Whilst I see that the Republican Party does control both the Senate and the House now, it will still take time because not everybody is on the bandwagon to approve digital assets as a full asset class. But I think it's on the way there. And if the different bodies can work together, then they can actually move a bit faster. Then international work will be very important with the United States. The U.S. is a very important part of the International Organization of Securities Commissions, and they've been taking a lead. But it's been enforcement by taking cases. And what will be great is to actually have legislation in place that people can understand how to be compliant so they don't get sued or thrown into jail. And they know what is right and wrong very, very clearly. So that will really help with the institutionalization of digital assets moving forward.
Angelina, we're just showing a graphic here, taking a look at some of the ETFs in Hong Kong, and we are seeing a big run up today in some of the names. How much broader does this activity come in terms of the regulatory piece? Because we've seen, for instance, certain altcoins trading in anticipation, Solana being one that you could see ETFs linked to that asset class. In Hong Kong, for instance, we've had a really big call for derivatives or derivative-linked products as well to try and broaden that asset class in its entirety.
The market is really asking for risk management / derivatives to be there, because what you're doing is you're just buying the asset, but you can't hedge. So one of the key points that has been requested by the institutions as well as the investing public is derivatives, and the fact that for example, the CME derivatives are so popular, but that's the only place where institutional investors can trade now. If we can launch that in Hong Kong, that will be a very big game changer. In terms of the fact that we have ETFs and we have a Bitcoin and a Ethereum ETF, I sort of think that it pushed Mr. Gensler's decision making to also approve that in the United States. So I think Hong Kong has helped in terms of the Hong Kong government as well as the SFC working together to really push the ETFs out. And I think there will be more ETFs, of which Solana is one of the major ones that have been discussed. The regulations have been very, very clear for custodians also in terms of, so we have an infrastructure and we have a very clear roadmap of how to launch products now. So now that will be a great runway for Hong Kong. But a lot of countries don't have that yet. And I think for Asia Pacific, a lot of the different markets are looking at what Hong Kong has done. I just came back from a conference in Taiwan, and they've just made a decision to actually move into digital assets. And they're really looking at becoming also a digital asset hub, as is Malaysia, and Singapore already is a digital assets hub. So you're seeing all the different countries moving into this area, and you're seeing institutions being a part of this and moving into it. So they're all interested also in listing digital assets as ETFs, and also getting into the risk management / derivatives side. So in all, if we can get this together, you're going to see an immediate and very fast-moving institutional take-up of digital assets, faster than I've ever seen in any other asset class. And that's because people have already been preparing. We've got custodians, we've got major international banks that are shoring up their custody services, that are getting ready to offer digital assets to their clients, fund managers around the world, and so on and so forth. So I think once the US gets their legislation very clear, and we hope that it will be very pro getting licenses, doing this right, putting out proper guidance, and then getting that whole regime together, and then working with the international regulators, then we'll really see an exciting digital asset space that will be just growing and growing, and could at some point even equal or surpass traditional finance at some point.